What is Strategy by Michael Eugene Porter. The myriad activities that go into creating, producing, selling, and delivering a product or service are the basic units of competitive advantage. Operational effectiveness means performing these activities better, that is, faster or with fewer inputs and defects than rivals. Companies can reap enormous advantage from operational effectiveness, as Japanese firms demonstrated in the 1970s and 1980s with such practices as total quality management and continuous improvement. But from a competitive standpoint, the problem with operational effectiveness is that best practices are easily emulated. As all competitors in an industry adopt them, the productivity frontier, the maximum value a company can deliver at a given cost, given the best available technology, skills, and management techniques, shift outwards, lowering cost and improving value at the same time. Such competition produces absolute improvement in operational effectiveness, but relative improvement for no one. And the more benchmarking that companies do, the more competitive convergence you have, that is, the more indistinguishable companies are from one another. Strategic positioning attempts to achieve sustainable competitive advantage by preserving what is distinctive about a company. It means performing different activities from rivals or performing similar activities in different ways. Three key principles underlie strategic positioning. Strategy is the creation of a unique and valuable position involving a different set of activities. Strategic position emerges from three distinct sources: serving few needs of many customers, serving broad needs of few customers, serving broad needs of many customers in a narrow market. Strategy requires you to make trade-offs in competing, to choose what not to do. Some competitive activities are incompatible, thus gains in one area can be achieved only at the expense of another area. For example, Neutrogena soap is positioned more as a medicinal product than as a cleansing agent. The company says no to sales based on deodorizing, gives up large volume, and sacrifices manufacturing efficiencies. By contrast, may take decision to extend its product line and acquire other brands represented a failure to make difficult trade-offs. The boost in revenues came at the expense of return on sales. Strategy involves creating fit among a company's activities. Fit has to do with the ways a company's activities interact and reinforce one another. For example, Vanguard Group aligns all of its activities with low-cost strategy. It distributes funds directly to consumers and minimizes portfolio turnover. Fit drives both competitive advantage and sustainability. When activities mutually reinforce each other, competitors can easily imitate them. When Continental Line tried to match a few of Southwest Airlines' activities, but not the whole interlocking system, the results were disastrous. Employees need guidance about how to deepen a strategic position rather than broaden or compromise it, about how to extend the company's uniqueness while strengthening the fit among its activities. The work of deciding which target group of customers and needs to serve requires discipline, the ability to set limits and forthright communication. This work of deciding which target group of customers and needs to serve requires discipline, the ability to set limits, and forthright communication. Clearly, strategy and leadership are inextricably linked. Operational effectiveness is not strategy. For almost 2 decades, managers have been learning to play by a new set of rules. Companies must be flexible to respond rapidly to competitive and market changes. They must benchmark continuously to achieve best practice. They must outsource aggressively to gain efficiencies. And they must nurture a few core competencies in the race to stay ahead of rivals. Positioning, once the heart of strategy, is rejected as too static for today's dynamic markets and changing technologies. According to the new dogma, rivals can quickly copy any market position, and competitive advantage is at best temporary. But those beliefs are dangerous half-truths, and they are leading more and more companies down the path of mutually destructive competition. True, some barriers to competition are falling as regulation eases and markets become global. True, companies have properly invested energy in becoming leaner and more nimble. In many industries, however, what some call hyper-competition is a self-inflicted wound, not the inevitable outcome of a changing paradigm of competition. The root of the problem is the failure to distinguish between operational effectiveness and strategy. The quest for productivity, quality, and speed has spawned a remarkable number of management tools and techniques, total quality management, etc. Although the resulting operational improvements have often been dramatic, many companies have been frustrated by their inability to translate those gains into sustainable profitability. And bit by bit, almost imperceptibly, management tools have taken the place of strategy. As managers push to improve on all fronts, they move farther away from viable competitive positions. Operational effectiveness, necessary but not sufficient. Operational effectiveness and strategy are both essential to superior performance, which, after all, is the primary goal of any enterprise, but they work in very different ways. A company can outperform rivals only if it can establish a difference that it can preserve. It must deliver greater value to customers or create comparable value at a lower cost or do both. The arithmetic of superior profitability then follows. Delivering greater value allows a company to charge higher average unit price. Greater efficiency results in lower average unit cost. Ultimately, all differences between companies in cost or price derive from the hundreds of activities required to create, produce, sell, and deliver their products or services, such as calling on customers, assembling final products, and training employees. Cost is generated by performing activities, and cost advantage arises from performing particular activities more efficiently than competitors. Similarly, differentiation arises from both the choice of activities and how they are performed. Activities, then, are the basic units of competitive advantage. Overall advantage or disadvantage results from all a company's activities, not only a few. Operational effectiveness means performing similar activities better than rivals perform them. Operational effectiveness includes, but is not limited to, efficiency. It refers to any number of practices that allow a company to better utilize its inputs by, for example, reducing defects in products or delivering or developing better products faster. In contrast, strategic positioning means performing different activities from rivals or performing similar activities in different ways. Differences in operational effectiveness among companies are pervasive. Some companies are able to get more out of their inputs than others because they eliminate wasted effort, employ more advanced technology, motivate employees better, or have a greater insight into managing particular activities or set of activities. Such differences in operational effectiveness are an important source of differences in profitability among competitors because they directly affect relative cost positions and levels of differentiation. Differences in operational effectiveness were at the heart of the Japanese challenge to Western companies in the 1980s. The Japanese were so far ahead of rivals in operational effectiveness that they could offer lower cost and superior quality at the same time. It's worth dwelling on this point because so much recent thinking about competition depends on it. Imagine for a moment a productivity frontier that constitutes the sum of all existing best practices at any given time. Think of it as the maximum value that a company delivering a particular product or service can create at a given cost, using the best available technologies, skills, management techniques, and purchased input. The productivity frontier can apply to individual activities, to groups of linked activities, such as order processing and manufacturing, and to an entire company's activities. When a company improves its operational effectiveness, it moves toward the frontier. Doing so may require capital investment, different personnel, or simply new ways of managing. The productivity frontier is constantly shifting outward as new technologies and management approaches are developed and as new inputs become available. Laptop computers, mobile communication, the internet, for example, have redefined the productivity frontier for sales force operations and created rich possibilities for linking sales with such activities as order processing and after-sales support. Similarly, lean production, which involves a family of activities, has allowed substantial improvement in manufacturing productivity and asset utilization. For at least the past decades, managers have been preoccupied with improving operational effectiveness. Through programs such as TQM, time-based competition, and benchmarking, they have changed how they perform activities in order to eliminate inefficiencies, improve customer satisfaction, and achieve best practice. Hoping to keep up with the shift in the productivity frontier, managers have embraced continuous improvement, empowerment, change management, and the so-called learning organization. The popularity of outsourcing and the virtual corporation reflect the growing recognition that it is difficult to perform all activities as productively as specialists. As companies move to the frontier, they can often improve on multiple dimensions of performance at the same time. For example, manufacturers that adopted the Japanese practice of rapid changeovers in the 1980s were able to lower costs and improve differentiation simultaneously. What are once believed to be real trade-offs become defects, and cost, for example, turned out to be illusions created by poor operational effectiveness. Managers have learned to reject such false trade-offs. Constant improvement in operational effectiveness is necessary to achieve superior profitability. However, it's not usually sufficient. Few companies have competed successfully on the basis of operational effectiveness over an extended period, and staying ahead of rivals gets harder every day. The most obvious reason for that is the rapid diffusion of best practices. Competitors can quickly imitate management techniques, new technologies, input improvement, and superior ways of meeting customers' needs. The most generic solutions, those that can be used in multiple settings, diffuse the fastest. Witness the proliferation of operational effectiveness techniques accelerated by support from consultants. Operational effectiveness competition shifts the productivity frontier outward, effectively raising the bar for everyone. But although such competition produces absolute improvement in operational effectiveness, it leads to relative improvement for no one. Consider the 5 billion plus US commercial printing industry. The major players, Donnelly and Sons Company, Quebeco, World Color Press, and Big Flower Press, are competing head-to-head, serving all types of customers, offering the same array of printing technologies, grabber and web offset, investing heavily in the same new equipment, running their presses faster, and reducing crew sizes. But the resulting major productivity gains are being captured by customers and equipment suppliers, not retained in superior profitability. Even industry leader Donnelley's profit margin, consistently higher than 7% in the 1980s, fell to less than 4.6% in 1995. This pattern is playing itself out in industry after industry. Even the Japanese, pioneers of the new competition, suffer from persistently low profits. The second reason that improved operational effectiveness is inefficient. The second reason that improved operational effectiveness is insufficient competitive convergence is more subtle and insidious. The more benchmarking companies do, the more they look alike. The more benchmarking companies do, the more they look alike. The more than rivals outsource activities to efficient third parties, often the same ones, the more generic those activities become. As rivals imitate one another's improvement in quality, cycle times, or supplier partnership, strategies converge, and competition becomes a series of races down identical paths that no one can win. Competition based on operational effectiveness alone is mutually destructive, leading to wars of attrition that can be arrested only by limiting competition. The recent ways the recent wave of industry consolidation through mergers makes sense in the context of operational effectiveness competition. Driven by performance pressures but lacking strategic vision, company after company has had no better idea than to buy up its rivals. The competitors left standing are often those that outlasted others, not companies with a real advantage. After a decade of impressive gains in operational effectiveness, many companies are facing diminishing returns. Continuous improvement has been etched on managers' brains, but its tool unwittingly draw companies toward imitation and homogeneity. Gradually, managers have let operational effectiveness supplant strategy. The result is zero-sum competition, static or declining prices, and pressures on costs that compromise companies' ability to invest in the business for the long term.